page. And I'll show you where that is in a little bit. Once you open this template, you have that pretty reports page, right? That report icon, the data here, so you can see all the information, and then this here, right? This is our model view. I know we're used to working in actual like 3D models, so the model terminology there is confusing, but that's what happens when you have cross-industry stuff with the same terms. But this basically builds the relationships of the table. Because Autodesk already built this one, there's a series of tables. There's all tables, the parts that are already built and connected together. So it shows the tables and what they connect to. Connections are column to column, and you can see this by hovering over one and it'll highlight this. So it's taking the template ID to the ID. It's connecting that bit of information so that we can understand it. Now Autodesk has already had this. In most cases, there's no additional information that needs to be made. The only time you'll need to make additional information is if you want more stuff to come out of your template, out of your report. So why are the relationships important? Well, this has my created by as a series of GUIDs, right? So who actually created this? Well, I would then need to tie it to their actual Autodesk account ID. This is due for data encryption purposes. It keeps a lot of these items in compliance with certain security measures, but that's why the relationships are important, because if you didn't connect the created by from your issues area to, if I scrolled up to the admins area with the user ID, I wouldn't actually know who created it. So we're going to just mostly take a look at that report view up here for this slide. So just so you can see all the pretties, right? This is where you can create the interactive graphics. Again, Autodesk gives you a lot. There's a slicer to adjust the date. There are a number of reports by references. There are usually really helpful legends, but not always. And sometimes I find the colors to be a little bit discerning and distracting. Like I would really, much more care about certain areas than other areas that are highlighted in colors. Personal pieces there. Since I'm not using business units on the unified platform, I don't care about this box at all. So I could delete that and I could put in a different graph of information if I wanted to. This is where you create it. So you would choose the type that you want to show, whether it's a graph or a chart or a pie. The slicer will affect all the data on the page, unless you set it not to. But by default, it's going to affect everything here. You get to set that data, the axes, the columns, so all your different axes or what your columns are going to be. And you get to apply the formatting here. So this is your formatting where you get to say, okay, I want this color, I want the title to look like this and be this font, right? These are all your effects. So it's just your graphics. And you can add multiple pages. So it all has the same file and the same link, a little bit less to manage. But what about this automation, right? So Autodesk has made the template for me, great. I run the extraction and I can automate the extraction from Autodesk, great. I see the report, wonderful. What do I need to do? Well, you hit publish to cloud. So back on this previous page, there's our publish button. So you just publish it up to the Power BI Microsoft Cloud. The report will be in here. You'll get a link to go right to it, and you'll generate a link. So underneath file, there's going to be an option to embed report. If you do website or portal, that means that everybody who accesses that does need a Power BI license to sign in and see it. Doesn't need the license to actually produce the link, but does need a license to access it. And then publish to web public. This is actually controlled by your IT person. And then anybody with that link can see the data. Again, they don't have access to your project or anything, but this does mean that they don't need a license. They won't have to sign in. Since the construction cloud is pretty well locked down, creating that link is only going to affect or be able to be affected by an admin who can go edit the link on the card and they can copy it and share it out with other people. But that's the only time that link would get out. So if you're not trusting your admins, I think we have other conversations we should have. But there's your link, and that's the link that you copy into the card. So when you go back into Insight and you say, okay, I want to add this card, you click to configure, and it's going to ask you to give it a title. So in this case, there's project users are on. So we've created our own little one that'll just show us. We can pick a user and it'll show which projects they're actually invited to. And then you paste that URL in here. None of ours are public due to the fact that we share a lot of our training, our dashboards around as we're doing demos and such. So none of ours are actually public. We do all have to sign in for it, but you can just post a public one right there. So automating the report, here's that data extraction I keep mentioning. On the construction cloud side, go into Insight, click that data extraction, run it, set the schedule. You can set multiple schedules. We have clients who do quite often. They try for hourly. I don't recommend hourly. I try to recommend no more than 4 hours personally. And that's because how extraction works is it's just a giant queue from everybody who's running an extraction. It's a huge queue. So whenever something pauses for maintenance over the weekend, for example, uh, that delay kind of builds up a bit. So don't try not to do hourly. That's just my recommendation though. So when you click that the insight, and you hit data extraction, you click run extraction, you can hit the schedule button. In our case, we already have one going, so I hit the stop and resume so I could just get this dialogue here. You can choose weekly. The other option here is monthly, but then you can set multiple days and run at a specific time. Then you can also do some different extractions to run. You can actually set up program, I want to say ACC Connect, so the Workato can actually pull this hourly, like a set number of minutes. It's kind of crazy. So in here, it'll only let you run it once per day. If you need it more often, you can do that with the ACC Connect, or if you know somebody who does other programming within your company, you can access. Now, there's a schedule extraction. This is automated, right? It's pulling that data. So this is why this is not live. It's pretty close to live if you do daily or twice a day, decently close to live at once a week. But just keep that in mind, right? So you don't want you you don't want to make full decisions based on the information in the Power BI if you're running, say, monthly extractions and you're looking at it 2 weeks later. You might want to, go into the insight. The insight data is live. No way around that. That one's live. It's right there. I think it might have a max delay of whatever the internet upload, download, and refresh back to your screen might be for edits. When it comes to Power BI, you're going to go to your data set and then the more menu, which are those 3 dots, scroll to settings, expand refresh. So what that looks like when you expand the refresh, you're going to turn on configure a refresh schedule, what your frequency is. This will actually let you do it daily, but that doesn't make much sense if you're only doing a weekly extraction. So you can just set that to weekly. Choose based off of your time zone, the date here, and then you can add another time as well to actually add the time. And if this refresh fails, who do you want to send notifications to? Right now, it's just the owner of the data set, but you can also add other people on your team to be notified that the refresh did fail. Most of the time when the Power BI refresh fails, it's going to be because the extraction failed, and the extraction is going to have failed for a few reasons. One, it's going to not have happened in time for this. The others, there's a handful of extenuating circumstances on how the extraction works, or if a server is down for maintenance when it's scheduled to run, handful of those things. And then of course, the computer gremlins that just randomly strike for no good reason, because then you'll just hit run extraction and it'll run again and be perfectly fine. So, those things happen.